they threw Miss Maxwell in jail, and they thought the story was over. But when recently they just forgot that there's a loose end to the story, Miss Maxwell, they have to deal with it. And it's very hard to deal with. There's a judge, there are witnesses, there are all kinds of people that are talking about what she knew and what she did. Prince Andrew, yes, it was, I called him a useful idiot. He was attracting the important people. He was the son of the queen at the time, and he was attracting people to come for to work with Epstein or whatever they did with Epstein. Bill Clinton, according to open sources, he was all over Epstein. And one of the things I would like to mention, which is really important, in the 90s, Bill Clinton and Ehud Barak, who was Prime Minister of Israel at the time, had a meeting in Washington with Arafat. And they did not sign the peace deal that was available because they were being blackmailed by the Israeli right. Because we could have had some sort of deal with the Palestinians going back to the 90s. But Ehud Barak and Clinton were being blackmailed by the Israeli right, especially Ehud Barak.
Are you saying that that particular blackmail that caused that decision not to have peace was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell involved in providing that blackmail
Yeah,
information?
it was them, yes, involved. This goes back to the early 90s. Yes, they were involved, and Mr. Barak was a real close to Epstein.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Many of you remember 5 or so years ago, we did part 1 with Ari Ben-Menashe on the Epstein story. And that is a story that has just gone completely berserk in the news. Candace Owens was talking about Ari Ben-Menashe recently. She had 100,000 people watching live, using what Ari Ben-Menashe had said in the past to say that the present administration was lying when they said that Epstein had nothing to do with intelligence, nothing to see here, move on. Well, if you're not familiar with Ari's story, it is absolutely massive. Working for Robert Maxwell, Iran-Contra, was in the exact same prison Epstein was in. But I'll let him expand on it. Huge thank you for coming on, Ari. And are you okay? Just to give people your backstory who are not familiar with you, and you've written a book as well.
Sorry, what am I supposed to talk about? The backstory? I used to work for in Israeli intelligence.
All right. If we could just expand a bit on that, then perhaps, where did you grow up, Ari?
Where did I grow up? I grew up in Iran. I was in an American school in Iran. Then I moved to Israel. I was in an American school in Israel. I went to university in Israel and was in military intelligence in Israel as well.
So as a young man, what was your goal for when you grew up? What did you want to be?
What did I want to be? A historian, a teacher, and a good Israeli citizen.
Okay, so we all have these dreams when we're young people. and then
Yeah.
things happen on the road of life. That
Correct. While working for Israeli intelligence, I got involved in arms sales to Iran, and actually, I was arrested in the United States based on the idea of selling arms to Iran, and I was acquitted. Not because the arms sales didn't take place, they did take place, but we had authority from the Israeli government and the U.S. government to sell the arms to the Iranians at the time. So I personally got acquitted
so what
for
branch of Israeli intelligence were you working for at that time?
Israeli military intelligence.
What does that mean
Military.
exactly?
It was the intelligence service worked by, controlled by the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces.
So how would that differ from the Mossad, for example? And would you guys work together?
Yeah, we would work together and share information and so on and so forth. Yes, sure.
And
But
what years of your life?
the military intelligence had the upper hand after the 1973 war. There was the military intelligence were the ones that were supposed to warn for an upcoming disaster or not over Mossad.
So when did Robert Maxwell come into your orbit?
Okay. Robert Maxwell in the 1980s came and we started working with him. He was taking money from the Iranians through Bahrain, and he was holding it for the Israeli government because he was doing the banking for the arms sales to Iran, Israeli arms sales to Iran.
So what was your collaboration with him?
It was about the arms sales to Iran.
And how do you manage to try and do something like that undetected?
Sorry?
How did you manage to try and do that without getting in any trouble, any consequences?
It was an official Israeli government government project, and the Americans knew about it.
But there was a lot more.
The Israelis were trying to help the Iranians fight Saddam Hussein
But there was a
at
lot
the
more to
time.
it than that. Wasn't there some hostages involved as well?
There were some hostages in Lebanon that were released and so on and so forth. Yes.
So, how did it end up with you getting in trouble over it? Why did you get arrested?
I suppose some Israelis and some Americans did not like our relationships that came up, came around. We were trying to make a peace deal with the Palestinians at the time, and I went to Tunis to see Arafat in 1989, I suppose, or 88, and some people did not like that. But it was all official government policy.
So,
Some government, part of the government, yes.
so do you feel that you were stabbed in the back when you got arrested?
I suppose so. I was stabbed in the back, but I went to trial and I got acquitted by a jury, 12, I think. And
So you've talked about Robert Maxwell's involvement in this area, but
yeah,
were you aware of other things he was involved in outside of arms to Iran?
he wasn't involved in Jeffrey Epstein's story. Jeffrey Epstein was coming to Maxwell in order to. He was offering him financial services, yes, to Robert Maxwell. But he was a young guy, was a nice young man from New York, and Robert Maxwell had a young daughter at the time, and Robert Maxwell wanted his daughter to get married to a nice Jewish boy from New York. That was Mr. Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't involved in any of the stuff Epstein was involved later on. But he did introduce him to Israeli intelligence as a smart Jewish boy that could work for the Israelis.
So did Maxwell take Jeffrey up on his offer of financial services?
No, actually not. But they became friendly, and again, he introduced him to the Israeli intelligence thing. And as a matter of fact, uh, Epstein became very friendly with the then director of military intelligence, Ehud Barak, who was then director of military intelligence. He became very friendly with him.
So we've got all of these visits from Ehud Barak to Epstein in America. And what do you think the nature of those visits were?
You can ask Mr. Barak.
Well,
He's still around.
you're indicating that Jeffrey was introduced to Israeli intelligence, and I imagine a relationship was formed. But we're being told by Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Donald Trump there is no relationship with intelligence. Nothing to see here. Move on. What are your thoughts when you're seeing all of these people in this current administration telling the public there's no intelligence involvement with Jeffrey Epstein?
What can I say? I said what I know. Okay. Um, they should know better, or they should know better.
Don't you think they do know better and they're just lying to us?
I have no idea.
All right. So the official story is that Ghislaine Maxwell was mourning her father's death, and then she went to America, and then she met Jeffrey. But you're saying that the relationship predated that story that the
The
mainstream media is
relationship
telling us.
predated it. It was in the 80s. They knew each other well, and they might have even been dating at that point.
So why do you think that the mainstream media don't want to reveal any of that to us?
I have no idea. There are all kinds of stories circulating, but they were in contact with each other in the 80s. And probably that's why after her father died, she left to the States to join Epstein.
So earlier on, you said that when Epstein met Robert Maxwell, he wasn't doing what he ended up doing later, as in Jeffrey Epstein. What did you mean by that? What did Jeffrey end up doing later?
Um, End up trying to blackmail politicians around the world by inviting them to have fun with him, like having sex with younger people, underage people, and so on. And he was basically trying to blackmail them, and he reported all that to the Israeli government. He
So
filmed everything. He filmed and everything, and sent it back to the Israeli government.
So I agree with you entirely there. That's what I believe. And you know what you've just said though, how did you come to that conclusion?
Well, it was very clear from the beginning. And the Israelis, at some point, the Israelis were talking about it between themselves, amongst themselves.
So there's a lot of different theories about how involved he was. One of them is that he was like freelance and he would sell information to the Mossad or the CIA or whoever. Another theory is that he was mostly loyal to Israel. So which theory do you think is more true? He was a lone wolf freelance, or he
I
was
think
loyal to Israel?
I think he was getting money from Israel, so he went along with them. And if he got money from other people, he might have sold the stuff to other people as well. But he was working initially for the Israelis only.
And that's another big question many people ask: is where did this money come from? Because he started out as a school teacher, and then he got into Tower Financial with Hoffenberg, who I was going to interview, but then Hoffenberg was found dead. I had been speaking to him just before that, and then he was found dead. His corpse had been rotting away for a week, and then he was given the property by Wexner. Gets over 100 million from Leon Black for financial services. All of a sudden, that they're saying that he's a billionaire. Have you thought about where all this money suddenly came from?
All these people were linked with Israel, to Israel. So
Because we spoke
all
to
this
people who are in the we spoke to
we,
people in the properties. For example, Juliet Bryan, and she said
mhm.
she saw the control room with all the screens for the cameras, and we know the Wexner property was cameraed up before he even moved in there. So, would you say that these properties then were given to him fit for the purpose of spying and honey traps?
all it makes sense. A school teacher doesn't make billions of dollars that easily.
And then someone like Leon Black giving him 100 and something million for financial services. I mean, is that how intelligence agencies move money around the world? They do it through intermediaries such as Black.
The Israelis did through businessmen uh, in in the states. They did move money around like that. Yes.
And these people like Black who participate in this, surely they understand there's this huge paper trail because that's blown up in his face now. Or at the time, do they just assume they're going to get away with it?
They always assume that they will get away with it. They always assume that the Israeli government will protect them, and so on and so forth.
And do you think they mostly do get away with it?
Some people do get away with it, some people don't.
Why do you think both parties are protecting the release of the Epstein files?
Sorry?
Why do you
The
think both parties in America are protecting the release of Epstein files and
I
information?
think politicians from both parties were ensnared in traps, Israeli traps or Epstein traps, politicians from both parties.
So if that's the
I'd
case,
say the US government and the US political system is sort of trapped by the Israelis.
You're saying the whole system is trapped by the Israelis.
Correct. And they
And
have to they really have to fight back and get rid of this issue
what
in
do you mean?
order. See, for Trump to do the right thing, he has to bring peace to Gaza. And we don't have to hear about all these deaths every day in Gaza. So he has to get over it and say, whatever the Israelis say or do, let them do. I am going to bring peace to Gaza.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. It's with my sponsor, Shopify. When I started this podcast, there were a lot of things I had to figure out on my own: algorithms, guest booking, marketing. I was a bit naive about what was involved, and as you get deeper into it, it starts to overwhelm your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started, such as my co-host Ron's Pokemon business. Get started with your own design studio of hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.co.uk/Shaun, SHAUN. Go to shopify.co.uk/Shaun, shopify.co.uk/Shaun. Link in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast. And isn't peace in that region the wishes of most Israeli people, but Netanyahu is just increasing wars?
A lot of people in Israel want peace, yes. And I'm sure Trump wants peace as well. And he's having a difficult time bringing it about. He should really tell the Israelis enough is enough.
Well, if the Israeli people want peace, couldn't they have a change of leadership and get someone in that would broker peace?
Can they get rid of Netanyahu so easily? Not really. Half of the population voted for him. Half. More than half. And he's been around for many years, and they can't get rid of him.
So, what about the recent situation with Iran? Hasn't that caused a lot of people to leave Israel and people to not support Netanyahu?
A lot of people are leaving Israel, and Mr. Netanyahu does not want uh, elections. He's saying that because of war, we cannot have elections now. We're in a war situation. So he's prolonging his political life by keeping the war going.
And was
And
part of that?
sorry, and actually, last night we were informed, the world was informed that they killed 5 journalists on purpose to shut them up in Gaza. The Israelis killed 5 journalists in Gaza, Al Jazeera journalists in Gaza. And when they were asked about it, they said they were all part of Hamas. We killed them.
Wow. So you're talking about
Uh,
Netanyahu prolonging his reign. It was
yeah.
part of that. Was bombing Iran part of that strategy?
Sorry, you're going in and out. Tell me again. Sorry.
So when Israel bombed Iran, was
Yes,
that part of Netanyahu's strategy to prolong his reign?
of course, that was part of it because he was running out of enemies. He sort of have peace deals with Egypt and Jordan, and actually, President Trump did the right thing on Iran. He went along, bombed three areas that had nobody present there, with nothing, empty areas, and then came back and said, "Okay, I bombed all the nuclear sites of Iran. Iran doesn't have any more nuclear weapons. Thank you very much." And I believe that Donald Trump would like peace with Iran as well, a deal with Iran as well. And I
So it
believe
sounds
that he would like to see Gaza peaceful as well. But he's caught up in he's caught up with the Israelis with the Epstein scandal, and they really don't know how to handle it. It's hard.
so it was Elon Musk almost 2 months ago said that Trump was in the Epstein files and caused this story to go big in the news, and it's still running. When you saw that happen, what were you thinking?
Elon Musk was blackmailing Trump, and he might have a connection with the Israelis on that count.
You, you're saying that Elon has a connection with the Israelis or Trump?
Elon Musk did on that count, on the Epstein
So,
count. Yes.
so do you think that Trump looks bad in the Epstein files?
Ask the Israelis. I don't know. He probably.
Well, in the last interview, we talked about Bill Clinton and we talked about Prince Andrew, and it
Right.
seemed quite obvious, that they looked bad. And do you think Trump was as involved as them, or not as involved?
I'm not sure how involved he was. I'm I'm really not sure. Prince Andrew, yes, it was. I called him a useful idiot. He was attracting the important people. He was the son of the queen at the time, and he was attracting people to come for to work with Epstein or whatever they did with Epstein. Bill Clinton, according to open sources, he was all over Epstein. And one of the things I would like to mention, which is really important, in the 90s, Bill Clinton and Ehud Barak, who was Prime Minister of Israel at the time, had a meeting in Washington with Arafat. And they did not sign the peace deal that was available because they were being blackmailed by the Israeli right. This is because we could have had some sort of deal with the Palestinians going back to the 90s. But Ehud Barak and Clinton were being blackmailed by the Israeli right, especially Ehud Barak.
And are you saying that particular blackmail that caused that decision not to have peace was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell involved in providing that
Yeah,
blackmail information?
uh, it was them, yes, involved. This goes back to the early It goes back to the early 90s. Yes, they were involved. And Mr. Barak was real close to Epstein.
So couldn't someone as powerful as the President of the United States deal with blackmailers?
I don't know. Ask them why they aren't dealing with blackmailers. Why did they, think? And is the Israeli government that powerful to be able I call them imprison American politicians? When I say imprison, hold them hostage in a way. Is
And
Netanyahu that powerful? Should be that powerful?
so are these politicians that always vote for Israel, are they beholden because of financial reward or honey traps or blackmail or all three?
Probably all three.
And are there any politicians that come to mind? Lindsey Graham, for example, would that be an example?
I have no idea. I really
Don't you think
don't.
it's really sad, Ari, that all of these people are dying because and most people want peace, but there's a small minority of people causing these blackmails and causing more war and more murder and more death when most people
I,
just want peace.
you know what? I would have a Donald Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize if he pushes the Israelis out of Gaza. I don't care what he did, what who he slept with, whatever he did. If if he makes peace in Gaza, let him win the Nobel Peace Prize twice.
But is it more than Netanyahu in the way of that? Is there a whole clique of people who are keeping Netanyahu's policies in place?
There are people in Israel that are keeping his politics in place, and I suppose he has his backers in the United States, right wing Christian evangelists, or so on and so forth, that want to see Armageddon in the Middle East. If you believe
And
in
is
that, I suppose.
So is that because they've tied in a biblical element?
I suppose so. I'm not an expert on that, but I suppose so.
So, I woke up today to see the deaths of the journalists, and yesterday I woke up to see 500 people arrested in London who were protesting what's happening in Gaza. And these people who are keeping the war going, don't they realize that so many people around the world are turning against Israel because of the constant videos coming out of kids dying and stuff like that? Or they just don't care?
Well, the politicians have problems with Israel. The Israelis are actually supplying a lot of military equipment and so on and so forth, know-how to the Brits. You have a company called Elbit sitting in the center of London. It's one of the main suppliers to the UK military.
What's it
Why
called, the
aren't they
company?
Elbit?
How do you spell that?
ELBIT.
Okay.
They sit in
I'll
the
have
middle of London. It's an Israeli company.
So you're saying that a huge amount of money's been made on arms contracts by keeping the war going as well?
Yeah, that's right. It's business and arms deals and so on and so forth. Okay. War has been going on for a long time all over the world, but this one, the Gaza one, should stop. Too many people are dying every day.
And what about the company called Palantir?
What about them?
What are your thoughts on them?
Same thing.
So, we've talked about Epstein and Maxwell. You just made a huge announcement that they were prime movers in the blackmail that scuppered the peace negotiation and Ehud Barak, etc. But moving forward then to more recent times, Maxwell all of a sudden has been moved to a prison in Texas, a very soft prison, after speaking to the Department of Justice #2. And it looks like Trump might be about to release her through a pardon or a commutation. Why would he do that when she's been convicted of some of the most horrific crimes against young people?
Ask Mr. Trump.
Well, I can only surmise from speaking to you that if she was working for Israel primarily, and Trump is making all of his decisions in favor of that, it's because of pressure from Israel?
Probably. Probably pressure from Israel. See, one thing happened. Somebody got rid of Epstein. He died in jail. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. There was another. Why did he come back to the United States if he knew he was going to be arrested? He was 4 or 5 months in Israel before he came back to the United States, by the way. And he came back and he was arrested once he got off his plane. Okay. But what, and then they threw Miss Maxwell in jail and they thought the story was over. But when recently they just forgot that there's a loose end to the story, Miss Maxwell. They have to deal with it. And it's very hard to deal with. There's a judge, there are witnesses, there are all kinds of people that are talking about what she knew and what she did.
So 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Mark Epstein, Jeffrey's brother, and he's certain that Jeffrey was murdered and he wants a murder investigation. And then, we discussed Jean-Luc Brunel, who also died in the same fashion in a French prison as Jeffrey. So why do you think Ghislaine Maxwell, something like that didn't happen to her? Why was she allowed to live?
They missed it.
How can they
And
miss something like that?
I don't know. Ask them. They missed it. But she actually did, when she went to jail, she just said she wasn't part of any of that. And, they sentenced her to 20 years, and that was it. They thought she'd be quiet.
Well, she was quiet. And I think it's because she was quiet and because of her relationships with people like the Clintons. I thought some secret deal had been done whereby they told her, take the 20 now while it's big in the news. And down the road, we'll let you out like, we let Bill Cosby out when the media's not looking at it anymore. But now the media's looking at it more than ever.
Correct. So they have a problem with her.
But isn't it going to be an even bigger problem if Trump and Kash Patel and Bondi, all who campaigned on saying they were going to go after these people and lock them up forever and release the files, how are they going to explain releasing her?
I have no idea. It's going to be a problem, yes. She is a
Would she have
problem.
would she have to give somebody up on the other side of politics,
Sorry?
like the Clintons? Would she have to give somebody up like Bill Clinton to get this pardon?
I believe that she's going to have to give up somebody. Yes, somebody.
And you
Probably on
also
the
think that
Democrats side, yes.
did you see that Bill and Hillary Clinton got subpoenaed over the Epstein
Yes,
case?
I saw that. But uh, it's a problem because it makes the story even bigger. It really does.
Everything they're doing is making the story bigger.
And that's right. Because what I had a comment to make about the Democrats. While Mr. Biden was president, they kept on prosecuting Mr. Trump in different courts and different things. If they would have ignored him, he wouldn't have been president right now. It's the same thing right now, vice versa.
And are they
They will
that dumb?
make the story bigger by bringing in the Clintons and others.
And are they that dumb they don't realize that that's what they're doing?
I don't know. Ask them. If I were
I
them,
mean,
I would just be quiet and let the Justice Department just do what it does.
it seems to me like Trump is doing everything possible to create headlines outside of this. He's charging Obama with treason. He's going to have a sit down with Putin in Alaska. It seems to me that he's just trying to like get other news stories going to override the Epstein story.
Um, the only thing that would override it, and I hope he'll do it, is bring peace to Gaza. That it will override the Epstein story. Bring peace to Gaza. Then he can get the Nobel Peace Prize and everything else. Doing Azerbaijan and Armenia didn't quite cut it.
But as you've mentioned, there's a clique of people in the way of him doing that. How does he get around that clique?
He he should get around them, figure it out, and whatever it costs him, it costs him. That's okay, because this is whatever it might cost him. Okay, but he brought peace to the Middle East and he prevented a genocide. There are lots of
Because he,
Palestinians being killed in Gaza, and now it's starting in the West Bank as well. And then there's war in Syria, and there's war in Lebanon, and what about Iran, and so on and so forth. He better get this done.
because Trump boasted he was going to end the wars in Ukraine and bring peace to the Middle East. And we've seen the opposite. But do you think before his term is over, he's going to honor those promises and he could leave a legacy that people will be proud
Okay,
of?
by the time his term is over, there will be no people in Gaza. They'll all be dead. So it's time for him to do peace right now and
But he's up.
pull the Israelis out of Gaza. Tell them enough is enough. If I were Trump, I'd send troops to Gaza through Egypt.
So has the situation got to get even worse in Gaza before he can justify doing that?
If you believe Mr. Netanyahu, yes, as you hear in the media that he wants to go in and so on and so take over Gaza City. I'm sure you've been hearing the news like I was.
Yeah. So does that mean that Netanyahu would have to be kicked out of the way and possibly end up, under threats of being charged for war crimes?
I hope so. And it's up to President Trump to take care of this. And then he can get his Nobel Peace Prize and we can all be happy. But he has to get the Israelis out of Gaza
So if you
and
were a betting man,
stop them from fighting. And by the way, just a comment. Uh, I take the bombing of Damascus by the Israelis very personally. I was in Damascus when they bombed the place.
do you want to expand on that?
No, I just saying that I was there.
So if you were a betting man, what are the odds of Trump achieving this?
I don't know. There's pressure on him from all over the world. To people are getting upset. Americans are getting upset. His own people, his own Republican Party is getting upset. Part of them, yes,
Yep.
and maybe that pressure will work.
Well, I certainly do hope there is peace. Going back to Maxwell, then, do you think something unfortunate could happen to her in prison?
Well, people were talking about it, and I say if something unfortunate happens to her, now they'll blame Trump and everything. It would probably be a bigger mess. If I were them, I would just leave her to be.
When you say that, do you mean let her serve a 20-year sentence or give her a pardon?
I let her serve her 20-year sentence, just leave her there. Apparently, she's in a good place. Apparently, she's almost in camp. She's having a great time there.
Yeah, they're not even supposed to have sex offenders at that prison. So that decision was made from the top. So that shows that there's going to be more favorable decisions coming down on her, I think.
I don't know, but if I were them, I would just leave her where she is and just ignore her. They keep on subpoenaing her and negotiating with her and so on and so forth. I would just ignore her.
Have you seen all the people talking about you recently, Ari? Like Candace Owens?
Yeah, I was informed that some people were talking about me.
And what? Since this story's blown back up in the news and we've got all these people talking about you, how is that affecting your life?
I have no, it hasn't affected me really. I'm just telling what I know.
And are you still running the same business you were running last time we spoke?
Yes, president of Dickens and Matson, Canada.
And how's your business doing these days?
I hope well. We're doing okay.
What
I hope so.
and what services do you provide?
We provide lobbying services to various governments or people.
And how's your book doing now?
My who?
Your book?
My book? Oh, my book. Suddenly it's selling again. It was published 30 odd years ago, and it sells and stops, sells and stops. Now suddenly it's selling. I got a check, a big check from the publisher recently.
How many zeros?
I not that many. I just but but it's selling. Yes, yes.
Tell the viewers the name of your book
Profits of War.
and what motivated you to write that.
Um, after after I was released from jail, I I was I was hoping to tell the truth, let people know what was going on in the 80s in the Middle East. It was it's a good book, if I may say. Did you read it?
No, but I'm going to read it. Hopefully, we can do a part three, and I'll read it before then. What was going on in the Middle East in the 80s?
The Israelis were helping the Iranians win the war against Saddam Hussein. Remember, Saddam attacked Iran,
Yeah.
and the idea was at the time that you can't have Saddam control the largest oil reserves in the world if he would have had Iraq's oil reserves and Iran's reserves in southern Iran. So the Israelis were helping the Iranians to fight Saddam Hussein.
Have you read Brzezinski's book, The Grand Chessboard?
Nope.
Well, he was instrumental with US foreign policy, and he says that it's in the interest of America to keep the Middle East divided and conquered. And isn't that a purpose of Israel? It's like a military outpost for America to keep that region divided and conquered.
Well, no. Now that there's peace with the Arabs, between Israel and some of the Arabs, if you bring peace to Syria and the other countries and make it economically good, people will start loving America again. If, if people become prosperous, why not? Why keep them divided? Why don't we bring Iran into Western society again? They were America's friends forever until Khomeini came up and the war started and so on and so forth. Why can't we do that? Why can't the Israelis stop and make a deal with the Palestinians? Whether it's two-state solution or some sort of territory that the Palestinians can live and work and make some money and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with
I
that. Trust me. Trust me. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I agree with you entirely. Peace and prosperity, but Trump is
Yeah.
surrounded by neocons who are pushing for regime change in Iran.
Um, I don't think that would happen that quickly. And I believe the Iranian government today is ready for a peace deal with the Americans. And as a result of that, you may even have some sort of deal between the Iranians and the Israelis if Netanyahu is gone. Is gone. Because remember, the Iranians were allies with Israel even after Khomeini took over for about until about 1992. In 1992, Yitzhak Rabin, then Prime Minister of Israel, met the Saudi king. He was promised lots of money if he breaks with the Iranians. And he did. And now you have the results you have right now.
What if
And
Netanyahu is not removed and Netanyahu attacks Iran again?
he might have. He might because he's running again. He's running out of enemies right now.
So you think we could see another attack this year?
I hope not. I really hope not.
Do you have
To
any
what
other
end?
prediction?
Sorry?
To achieve his own ends of, just keeping wars going and his own job security?
You call it job security, I suppose, to achieve that. But how long could he do it for?
Well, like you said, he's been around for a long time, hasn't he? He's got a lot of tricks.
Well, yeah, it's been around for a long time, but I think the world is getting tired of him. And remember, he also has an ICC. He has to answer to the ICC as well. It's not that it's not gone. And my prediction is that it's not a prediction. I hope. It's a hope that Donald Trump does the right thing.
So it seems like you have an optimistic outlook then, because many people are thinking that either the situation in Ukraine or the situation Israel, Gaza, Iran could escalate to World War III.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Ari, is there anything you think I've missed out that you'd like to say to the public?
I said everything I had to say. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And viewers, I'll put Ari's links in the description box, whatever he wants to share. If you want to get his book and understand the evil profits that made by the military industrial complex, I would highly recommend it. And I will endeavor to have read it, to read that in the coming months as well. But thank you for spending this time with us, Ari. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Okay.
Cheers.
Here.
Right. Ended.